Okay, so Leetcode practice time. Today we are going to work on this problem which is called number of islands. Let's see, what is that? So first of all, we need to clarify the question and think about edge case. So first of all, let's try to understand the problem to see if there's anything we need to clarify. So given an m by n 2D grid map, ones which represent the island and zeros which represent water, return the number of islands. So an island is surrounded by water and is formed by connecting adjacent lands horizontally or vertically. Okay, so no diagonal. You may assume all four edges of the grid are all surrounded by water. Okay, so I think it looks pretty clear to me. So one thing I can think about is, what if the 2D grid is empty, which means that the length or the width is 0. So that could be certainly an edge case. Otherwise, I think we should be good to go. So the next thing is to find the approach for this specific problem and do some runtime or space complexity analysis. So let's see. So I think it's quite clear that we can use some DFS for this problem. Depth first search using the recursion, and I would say one way to optimize it is to record the place, the position we have already visited, so that we don't visit it once again once we have already visited the corresponding position. I would say in this one for sure the runtime is going to be O n by n. So the runtime is going to be O n by n, which is the same as the size of the grid or the 2D array. So space-wise, if we can change the value of the input grade, then we are not going to introduce any extra space here. Then it is going to be constant. It's O1, so this is space. Otherwise, if we cannot really change it, then we may need to introduce another 2D array, which is the same size of the grid map. Then space complexity is gonna be O n by n. So let's assume that we can change the grade. So we have already found the solution. Then the next thing is to do some coding. So coding, we care about your code correctness, and that's not enough, and we need to care about your code readability, whether the code is readable or not. So let's get started and do some coding work. So first of all, edge case, if grade is equal to a non-pointer or grade the length is equal to 0, then we certainly just return a 0. Or I would say grade 0.length is equal to 0. So this should have covered all the edge case. Then let's start to do something here. So first of all, we need to define a let's say let's define int num islands, num of islands, to be a bit clear. So now we are going to do a for loop to iterate through the each grade. So I is equal to 0, I is smaller than grade.length plus I j is equal to 0, j is smaller than grade dot 0 dot length plus j. Then let's define a placeholder function. Let's call it DFS. So DFS, several arguments to be passed into it. The first one is the grade, of course, and the second one is the position, which is so the first is horizontal. So the second and third are horizontal and vertical position of it, x and y. So let's say just x and y. Okay, so here, if grade ij is equal to 1, which means it's a piece of land, then what we are going to do is we are going to plus num of islands, and also we are going to do DFS here. So grade and I and j. Okay, and finally return num of islands. Alright, so let's work on the code in DFS. Here, what we are going to do is, first of all, we need to calculate the width and the length. Let's say, okay, so let's say the height is grade the length, and the width is grade 0 the length. So if x is larger or okay, so now what we need to do is, first of all, okay, so let's set the position. You set the position from 1 to 0. So now we would have grade x and y set it to be 0, so that in the future we don't need to revisit this position. So if x is larger than 1, so we are going to visit the foreign neighbor position for x and y. So what we are going to do is essentially grade x minus 1 and y. So this one we need to make sure that x is larger than 0. Otherwise we cannot visit that actually. So here it is DFS DFS grade DFS grade x minus 1 and y, so on and so forth. The next neighbor is x. If x is smaller than height, actually it's width, right? So x is, so this is the I, which is the horizontal thing, or it's a vertical thing. So this one, it should be height. Okay, height minus 1, and the DFS grade x plus 1 and y. Same for other positions. So if y is larger than 0, then DFS grade x y minus 1, and if y is smaller than y, so actually it may be not very readable here because x is actually y, y is actually x. So, but never mind. Let's try to do it first and then refine this piece of code. So it's x, y plus 1 here. Okay. Let's see. So DFS height y. So let's so we are pretty much code complete. Let's do some testing. So first of all, it is always doing some sanity check on this piece of code. So edge case, let's use the first example. Edge case checking at the very beginning in this if branch. Number of islands initialized at 0. Then if I is equal to 0, now I is equal to 0, j is equal to 0, which means we are visiting this position. And the grade is equal to 1, so plus number of islands, so we have 1 island at this time. And we jump into this DFS function. So we are going to set this position to be 0, reset it, and so if x is larger than 0, so we are not going to into this branch, so on and so forth. We are not going to into this if branch as well. So here x is smaller than height minus 1, which is okay, so it is smaller than height minus 1, so we are going to visit this position, which is a neighbor of it, and so on and so forth. We are going to visit this position as well for here. Oh, okay, so I think we actually missed something here, which means we need to make sure that the grade we are trying to extend is actually a piece of island. Otherwise, we have no way, there's no reason for us to do the DFS on top of it, which I missed it. So here, if grade x minus 1 y is equal to a 1, which means it's a piece of island, then we should visit it, and we are going to update the condition for everything else. Okay, so this one is x plus 1, and this one is x y minus 1, and this is x y plus 1. Okay, so if that position is island, then we keep doing the DFS. Okay, so I think it looks good to me at this moment. Let's do some testing on top of it. So it's accepted now. Let's do a submission. Okay, so it's accepted, which means we are good about this problem. So testing, as I said, when we set the test cases, we need to care about your test coverage. So we need to cover the edge cases and some normal cases, something like that. So I would say for the normal test cases, maybe 1 island, and another test case, let's say 2 islands. I would say that would be good enough for the test case setup. Otherwise, if there's more time, I would like to refine the naming convention, like x and y. It might be a bit confusing because actually usually it talks about like the x-axis, which is horizontal, and y is about vertical. So if we may need to consider to change the x and y to be something more meaningful. But otherwise, I think this piece of code is pretty readable. Okay, so that's it for this coding question. I hope you find this video a little bit helpful during the time you prepare your technical interview. So thanks for watching it, and if you like it, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.